2, 3, 4, 5. And welcome back to the TMCJ podcast. I'm your host, Flapjack McBaconhands. I don't know why.
Me, Maple Syrup Boy.
I don't know why. I think I'm hungry. I haven't had breakfast yet.
Yeah.
We
I've
are
been awake
back.
since last night, so
So this may be a weird one. We are back after our last episode, which was the Halloween special. However, if you're listening to this the day it came out, the last episode was actually the episode before the Halloween special. Our scheduling...
Oh, don't go into that. Like, no one understands. I don't understand it, and I wrote the fucking thing.
But I mean, that's where we are. We flipped the schedule a little bit for Halloween because we wanted to release one on Halloween. But hopefully, I mean, things are going to be back to normal for a little bit, at least until we hit the Christmas special.
Yeah, we released it all on Halloween, except for the YouTube, which was released 3 days later.
Yeah, and that wasn't even... So normally, if I edit a video and upload it, it takes about an hour to upload to YouTube. Like, no matter the size. The largest videos I upload are around, like, 10 gigabytes.
Yeah.
For whatever reason... And those take, like, an hour and a half to upload. For whatever reason... The episode that I uploaded on Halloween, it was 15 gigabytes, was larger than normal. It took YouTube 3 days. 3 days. Like, and it wasn't my connection, because I uploaded a video that was supposed to go up on Monday, and it went up before the Halloween special, which was still uploading. And I don't know.
What the worst thing was?
Yeah.
So I released the tweet early that the Halloween podcast was up and out there. And then you're like, ah, shit, dude, that was too early. I was like, oh, fuck, you're right. Okay. And then I was like, okay, right, so we're releasing it now, right? And you're like, yeah, okay, you can send out a correction tweet or whatever. I was like, okay, cool. Sent out the correction tweet. Like, oh, you know, it's all out now, don't worry, guys. Nope, it's not fucking out.
We're a very professional show here.
We're just so good.
But the thing is, at least the audio version did go out, and I think that had the benefit of our usual, like some of our more regular audience.
Yeah, I think more people are listening to the Spotify's and stuff than...
They are. I actually get the analytics for it. Our audience has expanded significantly, considering, like, since we've gone on... I say significantly. We get maybe, like, 20 people.
Percentage-wise, yeah.
Yeah. It went from, like, 5 to 10 views to 20, so, you know, I call that a win.
Definitely.
Anyway, topics is where we are on segment 1. I had something, well, there was an event that happened this week in the United States.
Oh, yeah.
That is not the topic that I chose, but it made me think of this topic.
Okay.
So, I tend to be a very dispassionate person when it comes to things like politics, celebrities, anything like that. I mean, I've ragged on celebrities, except for the fact that celebrities annoy the fuck out of me. Politicians annoy the fuck out of me in a similar way.
Yeah, but Kaiser, we've got like 20 listeners now. We are celebrities.
Shut the fuck up. So, I was thinking about like celebrity investment because there are people who they take what happens to politicians or celebrities like as if it was happening to them, or even like YouTube personalities.
Yeah,
they
idols.
Exactly. So like, for instance, me personally, like, it does not matter to me what happened. Like, I really liked the Taken movies, but if somebody walked up in the street and punched Liam Neeson in the face, I'd be like, oh, wow, that guy's crazy. But I wouldn't like care, if you know what I mean.
Right.
But there are people out there who they really like a Tom Cruise movie, and if somebody, you know, does something bad to Tom Cruise, they're like, oh man, they feel hurt, they feel bad about it. Politics,
Scientology the shit out of you.
Politics are the same way though, because like it doesn't like this you know, if one politician wins or if one politician loses, people have all this emotional investment rolled up in it, and Like, I don't. I know which politician I'd prefer wins, but if they don't win, I'm like, well, okay, good game.
Yeah.
The other guy won. Yeah, I'll just deal with this.
It's not the end of the world.
Exactly. So what I wanted to
Which
talk
a lot of people make out as if it is. Yeah, sorry, go.
Yeah. And what I wanted to talk about is that sort of celebrity investment and kind of just your thoughts on it. So that's my intro. What do you think?
Yeah, I've heard a lot the last couple of days of people saying, "Oh, I don't want to hear about the election or anything like that." I use the E word. Oh, god damn it. And then like a day later, they're like, "Oh, hell yeah, my person's winning now. Fuck the other guy," kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And it kind of pisses me off a little bit.
What's the old adage? One thought for me and not for thee.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Hypocrisy, basically. And I don't know. It kind of grinds my gears a bit. I am, as an Englishman, I have so much interest in American politics.
Are you guys looking to make us a colony again?
I mean, it's so much more interesting than English politics, to be fair. Our politics are so boring. And,
Which is...
Go on.
I was about to say that's very weird because I've always found your politics fascinating because your politicians tend to seem like more actual human beings.
Are you kidding me? I'll describe our current Prime Minister as a chubby mouse. A very clumsy chubby mouse.
He does stutter a lot too. I don't know. Boris Johnson's kind of funny.
He's a laughing stock. That's why I don't like him. At least if you piss off Trump, he can launch the nuclears at you.
It's going to be the biggest nuclear strike ever.
Yep. He's going to build walls. He's going to do all this stuff. He's a go-getter man.
Yeah, Trump is very much a meme.
I should say, I don't like either... I think I've said before, Donald Duck or the bidet. But, I don't know, they're as bad as each other, and I think that's the opinion of a lot of people, Americans.
Yeah.
No, actually just Americans, because everyone in England hates Donald Trump with a burning passion, apparently.
Yeah, it's very weird.
Yeah. We want Obama back. He was like a father to us, even though he had nothing to do
You know
with
why?
us.
It's because Obama behaved like a lord.
Right.
I think your instinctual, drive for servitude caused you guys to like him.
I mean, we just never heard about any of the bad things that happened with him, I think.
Well, it's because Obama did something that Trump couldn't, and that was that he got the news networks on his side. Trump, on the other hand, just pissed in their faces and was like, "What are you gonna do about it, bitch?" Like,
you just remind me of the college humor Batman.
I am just doing that. And I didn't want to get into specific politicians, but fuck it, we're already there. But that was the thing. But that was the thing, is that Obama had a very, very good PR department. And Trump didn't. Trump actually actively fought against his PR department. Everything he said was tailor-made to be a PR department's nightmare.
Oh yeah, all his stupid tweets. I mean...
Yeah, exactly. Even in sometimes... I remember listening to... what was it? It was an interview... No, it was an interview with somebody who had been talking to one of the top-level generals at the Pentagon.
Yeah. And
Trump had tweeted... As of today, after talking to advisors, I have decided that our military will no longer allow, and that was the max of the 140 characters, right?
Right.
And the general was like, and it took him 5 minutes to put out the next tweet. And the general said that for 5 minutes, I didn't know if we were about to go to war with another country or not.
That's so bad.
It really is, especially when you're talking about a country like ours where we have the biggest military out there. Well, not the biggest anymore. Actually, China beats us.
Yeah?
they've got a bigger military. The technical
Bigger
difference.
than Russia? I thought Russia had a bigger army.
You know what? I don't know. It maybe Russia does, but I think China has the. I'm talking about pure size, like manpower, like
Yeah.
how much man and machinery you can put on the field at one time. I think China has the U.S. beat and Russia beat right now. We definitely spend the most. We have the most expensive military in the world.
Yeah.
We spend like 10 times what most countries have for a GDP on a military.
Whoa. Have you heard about the size of Korea's army? North Korea? My
Oh yeah,
God.
no, North Korea clearly has the biggest army. Actually,
They've got ICBMs up the wazoo.
I forgot about the dear leader. Kim Jong.
Oh, man.
I haven't
Put
heard.
him in for your president.
I wonder if he'd come over here. If that'd be a decent trap. We could vote him in, and then he'd come over here, and then we could free the rest of the country, and then South Korea could move in and be like, "Hey guys, you want some Samsung TVs?"
Damn, world peace right there.
That's my policy.
Yeah, vote Kaiser today.
Anyway,
2024.
I kind of got lost in the weeds there, but my point was that Trump has a terrible sense for PR, which is ironic because he was a reality TV star for a while. But in terms, but
we've got a British version of him over here. They actually they made The Apprentice over here because it was so popular in America.
Yeah,
with Lord Alan Sugar. He was Sir Alan Sugar, and now he's a Lord.
Oh, congratulations! I don't know what the title difference means.
I don't know. He owns more land or something. I don't know. The Queen bestows the title on people of deserving whatever. But yeah.
I don't want to get too far into the Queen's actually a decent transition from American politics to British politics, because we were talking again the topic originally was celebrity investment. And I'm thinking about how people. Is the Queen a
celebrity?
I think she is. I mean, she's known globally. She's probably the best known existing monarch.
Probably, yeah.
Because if you think about it, I think there's only 5 or 6 countries on Earth that still have a de facto monarch. Britain has one, and the Queen actually has significant political power. She just doesn't use them.
Oh yeah.
Then there's Japan still has an emperor, who's considered the head of the Shinto religion, and technically your queen is the head of the British Church. And then I think, what is it, Luxembourg or one of the other small micronations is still a principality. They have an absolute monarch who is an active head of state. He has a parliament to go alongside him, but he still controls the country. I think the Netherlands might still have a king as well, or maybe it's Denmark. Some Scandinavian country does.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say there's a couple more in Eastern Europe, but there's Belarus. Who
you're just listing countries now.
I like history, and I actually like studying different governments and how they work. It's very dry and boring things that I find very interesting. So I know these places still have one, but I think the Queen is a point of celebrity. One of the reasons that you
brings in a lot of tourism.
There's that, but I think there's a lot of British people that if somebody came in, some London hippie fuckhead goes, why do we still have a monarch? We should have something government of the people, blah 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 blah. Whatever talking point they decide to use. We should have communism. Get rid of the Queen. So something like that. If they got rid of her, I think there'd be uproar throughout the country, even amongst people.
For sure.
But even amongst people who don't think she should have the powers she has. I think they have that emotional investment that if they thought about it, they probably wouldn't have the same reaction. But there's that emotional tie. You know what I'm saying?
The Queen is to us what the flag is to America.
That's a good metaphor. Actually, yeah. That's true.
Yeah. And, of course, we also have Jacob Rees-Mogg, who would lay down his life for the Queen.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where I say I'm not, like, politically invested or anything like that, or invested in celebrities, but, and you bring up the flag, I, objectively, I'm like, okay, yeah, it's whatever, it's a flag. I don't, people throw it on the ground, they stomp it, they burn it, whatever. But if I actually, I think when I see people doing those things to it, like burning it, for instance,
Yeah.
it bothers me. Like
Oh, yeah.
it like I feel it's the same.
It bothers me when a book is burnt.
Yeah, exactly. Even if it's the worst book on earth, if it's a book that, like, it could be a book written by my worst enemy. If I see someone burning a book, I'm just like, I feel just this awful sense of loss. Even if I've never read the book, even if I was never going to read the book. There's a scene in, and I'm kind of jumping ahead to media a little bit here, but it's to prove a point. I've been rewatching the series Vikings, which excellent series. I've never finished it. I've got as far as season 2 before I like either got distracted or something else like came up, and so I'm determined to actually finish the whole series now. One of my friend Raymond loves the series, raves about it, and so I'm determined to get through the whole thing. But there's a scene early on where the Vikings raid Lindisfarne, right? The monastery, which was the site of the first Viking raid in England. And one of the Vikings burns a whole bunch of scrolls and books and things. And it, like, legitimately watching that scene in the movie, I felt like more emotional pain than in some of the brutal, like, murder scenes in the movie.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're used to seeing murder scenes. We're not used to seeing book burns.
We
generally associate book burning with, like, Nazism and stuff, which is a pretty...
Yeah. Well, I think, in general, most modern people can agree that destruction of knowledge, right? The destruction of information, regardless of what that information is generally a negative.
Remember the protests recently about a certain subject where statues and works of art were torn down?
Yeah, I do remember that, and that infuriated me.
Yeah.
I don't care who the person was. Like, if they did something bad, remember it. If they did something good, remember it. Don't destroy, like, the burning of the Library of Alexandria. We're going back like 2,000 years now.
Yeah.
That is, I think, one of the most tragic events in history. We would know so much more about the history of Egypt and Greece and the Mediterranean if that hadn't have happened. So I think that it's disgusting that people are, like, it doesn't matter what the books or scrolls or whatever said. There could have been tons of works in there that were written by a complete cunt. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, having that information last through the ages is better than not. So having things like that destroyed, statues and things, I don't know. No matter how awful the people were.
Yeah. They went about it in the wrong way, is my way of thinking.
Yeah, and I think
like,
the way I think it was Bristol handled it in the UK was pretty well.
Really?
They tore it down. They tore the statue down.
Yeah.
And those people were idiots and fuckheads, and
yeah, and they threw it in the lake.
In my universe, all of them would have gotten a swift kick to the balls, even the women.
Right.
And the way the town handled it was to pull the statue out, dredge it, clean it, and then they created a museum exhibit.
Yeah.
Now, I personally think they should have put it right back up on the plinth, and with a big middle finger statue right next to it to the protesters. But I think if like a town or a community decides that, a certain statue or monument or something is distasteful, then what they do is they decide as a community through whatever method they have, if it's voting, town council meeting, whatever, legal hearing, they decide to take it down, and then they move it into a museum or an archive or somewhere with like an explanation of its history and of why it was removed, because that's part of the historical record too.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, yeah, I don't know. We'll not go back into that, because I mean, that was a whole drama that's been and gone, and it doesn't need bringing up again.
Yeah.
But it was really the first time in recent history that something like that has happened. And it could have been largely to do with the COVID.
Yeah, I think that was probably a big piece of it. People
themselves.
being trapped inside.
Yeah. And we like, we're totally behind the message of making the world better.
Yeah.
But some people are going about it in such the wrong way.
It's
that, you know.
What's the yeah, I'm I should probably emphasize that after I went on that rant. I'm perfectly fine with the message behind it, that, you know, bad shit happened in the past and we need to like do things to make the modern world better.
Yeah, we need to remember those bad things that happened in the past.
Exactly.
So we don't make the same mistakes.
Exactly. That's the point, is that it's not, you can't make the world better by worse means than what made it bad in the past. Like and the ends don't justify the means. It's an old cliche, but it holds true here, and I think it's important to remember, because yes, if we get to this grand new world where everything is perfect and everyone treats everyone with respect and so on and so on, it doesn't matter if we got there by essentially just killing or maiming or destroying everything that we didn't like about the old world. I don't like... The ends justify the means is something that I think people know as a phrase, but they don't ever really think about it.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. Yeah. I'm getting into deep philosophical things here, which my brain is not equipped to handle.
We need another great philosophical quote like to infinity and beyond.
God damn it. I'm never going to live that one down.
No. You said, in case anyone's wondering, that's on the podcast. You can go back and listen to that right now.
Yep, I thought To Infinity and Beyond was a quote from Star Trek. It's Buzz Lightyear. Fuck off. Just let's let it die.
Oh shit!
But
yes, there's been a lot of controversial topics in this first segment, hasn't there?
There have been, but I think from the very beginning,
to say it.
From the very beginning, I envisioned this podcast as just like two regular guys having a conversation, right?
Yeah.
With the added flavor that we're from different countries.
Yeah. And we're from very different like ways of growing up, and there's all sorts of things that are very different about us.
Which is why, and yet we're very good friends. Yep. So that I wanted this podcast to be a conversation, and to emulate that, to be that conversation between good friends who are very different. And
we do try and keep it rather PC, but sometimes you've got to talk about, you know, the things that matter, even if it does mean, you know, people might be angry, and you're absolutely every right to be angry. Just don't stop people from viewing and voicing their opinions, because that ain't right. Like, I'm perfectly happy for someone to tell me that that they think I'm wrong and they have their own opinion. They're happy. I'm happy for them to have that opinion, no matter what it is. Just don't tell other people not to have their own opinions.
Yeah, and I'm happy to have people like that, like, try to convince me that I'm wrong or that, but there's a good and a bad way to do things, and yeah. Well, I first of all, I want to echo 100% what you just said. There are some, like, we do try to keep this podcast more light most of the time, but sometimes you have to talk about the important shit, and it would be remiss not to.
Yeah. Alright, so what just flew through my head was, alright, next most important topic. Let's talk about why you got a YouTube channel, 18 plus on YouTube.
Wait, which are you talking about? The old clip from Sea of Thieves? Yeah. So I recently had YouTube decide to make one of my videos adults only.
Yeah, this is quite an old video. So when did we when did you put it out?
God, so it was me, you, Adam, and Yi playing Sea of Thieves. I think this was.
I don't think Yi was there.
I want to say it was late 2018.
Right. Okay. So a couple of years.
So it's been a couple of years now. So we were playing Sea of Thieves. We had all been drinking a bit of rum. There was no drinking in the video. I should point that out.
No.
And our ship was sinking. And Blue was looking at a map while practically underwater. Adam was just fucking around some other place on the ship, or whoever else was with us. I think Adam and you were both there, but maybe it was just Adam.
Yeah.
Anyway, so where the ship is sinking. I am the only one using a bucket to bail it out. And yeah, I've got a face cam on. There's nothing going on in the background. I don't have like porn up on my TV or something like that. Like, so I've got my face cam on, and you can just see me playing the game, and Blue is just like, it's like,
you fixed the ship yet?
Yeah. Have you fixed the ship yet, or are you bailing it out? And I'm like, yeah, I'm fucking doing it, and I shouted that, and then I think somebody in Blue laughs. Like, that's the whole clip. It's 16 seconds long or something like that.
It's tiny.
It's a tiny little clip from us playing, and the clip is called "Yes, I'm fucking helping."
I decided like an angry yell. It's like
it was like a comedy yell. Like you're playing a game and your friend said something stupid, and you're like, yeah, fuck you, I'm doing it, like that sort of thing.
And 18 plus. That's too much.
It was 18 plus, and I contested it with a write-up of why I thought it was odd that it was being classed 18 plus, and with a manual review, and I have no second appeal. It is locked in at 18 plus.
People can ride motorbikes in my country at 16 and 17.
In some places in
the
the
US,
U.S.
watch that video of Kaiser saying, "Fuck you, I'm repairing the boat."
And honestly, in some places in the U.S., people can do it at 14.
Yeah.
The state my mom grew up in, you can get a driver's license at 14 years old.
And you need to know how to swear if you're going to be on the road. No, I'm kidding. Don't road rage. Don't do that.
Okay. I was talking about whether or not the mic would get maxed out during this. That laugh just maxed it.
Nice.
But yeah, no, it was odd. Like, it was just us, like, playing a silly video game, swearing at each other, and it got restricted to 18 plus. YouTube's got their head up their asses sometimes, I swear.
We only played Sea of Thieves one time, and we never really came back to it, did we? 'Cause
no.
It costs fucking... sorry, I've just got the fucking video demonetized. God damn it. Well, fuck, we might as well swear in every other sentence now. It's so expensive, that game. Ridiculously expensive for what it is.
Yeah.
Probably because it was so popular on YouTube and Twitch at the time. I don't think anyone plays it anymore these days, as
Not really.
the trend has moved on.
I still have it installed, I don't use it.
But yeah, just associated with like Microsoft and Xbox, it's just whoop for the value on it.
So, just for reference, because we are coming up on the end of this segment, I do want to just quickly... Sea of Thieves, by the way, is a funny little pirate game. It's a co-op thing, open world, somewhat. So you get like a group of like 3 or 4 friends together, you all get a little boat, and you can sail around this little open world where other players are sailing around and complete quests while also interacting with those other people.
interacting with cannonballs at their ships.
Or occasionally shouting swears at them.
Yeah, we didn't actually ever see a. Wait, did we? I can't even remember. Did we?
No,
I was so hammered that night.
We got utterly destroyed. Yeah, it should be pointed out that after that clip happened, we continued to drink rum, and
because we're pirates. Pirates drink rum.
It all became part of the joke.
It did. I mean, I was going to be drinking rum either way, but
yeah. I personally don't like rum. I don't like sugar. I don't like sweet things in general. But I was dutifully being a pirate that night.
Good. Yep.
Anyway, all right. I think that's all the mileage we're gonna get out of topics. I think, despite the fact that it did get a little bit more serious than we normally are. Like you said, I want to reiterate exactly what you said. That I think there are times that you have to talk about things that are important, no matter what your normal MO is. Anyway,
we just had a light-hearted Halloween one anyway, so
yeah. The Halloween one was a lot of fun.
Oh, it was. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, we need to do another themed one as we come on to the
Christmas.
Yeah, the other holidays.
Yeah.
Anyway, so thank you all for listening. This is the end of segment 1. You'll hear us again very soon for segment 2. And welcome back to the TMCJ podcast. We are on episode... What? Not episode. Fuck, I already screwed up. God damn it.
15, part 2.
We're on segment 93, episode 48. No, we're on episode 15, and we are on segment number 2. Oh, Jesus. I'm normally better at this.
Are you?
I don't know. I think I do the intros pretty well most of the time.
Oh yeah, you normally do the intros pretty well, yeah.
Anyway, we are on to the media segment this week, and I know we have at least one thing to talk about because we did movies, but I actually have something I really want to talk about as well. So let's do the movie first because I do want to discuss that, but for later in it, I finished The Boys season 2 this week.
Oh shit! I still need to watch that.
Yeah, it's
Benny will be so disappointed.
Little teaser for it. It's still just as good as season 1, but it's it started to lose its path, I think, a little bit.
Okay.
But I won't spoil anything. This week we watched the movie version of Sweeney Todd, the one with Jack Sparrow.
Jack Sparrow.
Yeah. I couldn't remember.
Johnny Depp.
I don't know the actor's name. Johnny Depp. His name is Johnny Depp.
I just said that.
Did you? Oh, sorry, you cut out. Sorry. This is the flaws of using a wireless headset. Occasionally you cut out, and I miss it. It records fine, though.
Yeah.
But yes, Sweeney Todd. The first musical that I willingly went to and enjoyed. I'd said to... Well, I've mentioned this on a previous podcast, but several of my friends growing up in high school, including the girl I dated in high school, really liked musicals. I did not. I didn't count Disney movies. They weren't my thing.
I'm not a massive fan of musicals. I do love Disney though. But I that being said, honestly, I quite like the musical themes of Sweeney Todd.
It's a good story, and I think the musical movie is well done and well executed. No pun intended.
Right. What was the pun? Oh, executed. Okay, I got you.
A little bit.
I was trying to think up some kind of egg pun, and I was like, "What?"
No, there's no eggs in the movie.
Well, there's pies.
Yeah, but there's no eggs.
Well, yeah, there's to make the pastry or something. I don't know.
Oh, pies.
What did you think I said?
Parties.
Yeah. Jesus Christ, guys.
Gee, we're God damn it. Segment 1 was so well put together. Segment 2 is such a shit show already.
Shit show, yep.
But no, so just going through, if you haven't seen the movie, quick synopsis of it. It's set in like 1800s England, specifically in London. There's a barber who has a beautiful wife, infant daughter, and a judge who is envious and wants the wife for himself, drums up some false charges and sends the barber off. They say they quote-unquote transported him for life, which at the time meant you're going to like Australia or some other penal colony to serve out your term as a prisoner working there. And the idea is you'd never come back. He changed his name, got away somehow. They don't specify in the movie.
They say they found him floating in the ocean, so...
Right. So presumably he escaped and got there somehow. It's not
and then
clear.
The boy picked him up.
Yeah, exactly. And he makes his way back to London, assumes a new identity, and is intent on vengeance on the people who wronged him because he finds out, spoiler, that his wife has died, or he's told that she's died by poisoning.
Allegedly. Yep.
And his daughter is now the ward of the judge who sent him away.
Yeah.
So that's the scene for the movie, and he ends up going through a series of events on a murderous rampage, slitting throats instead of shaving them. And
yeah, that always makes me cringe. I'm fine with. I know some people who can't even touch their Adam's apple because it makes them cringe too much. I'm fine with doing that.
Yeah,
but it's still one of those body parts that you just don't touch.
The neck, really.
Well, just particularly the pointed part of the Adam's apple, because it's like, I don't know, it's cringy.
It's funny, the moment you said that, I was actually like poking mine.
Yeah, so was I, but I'm not that squeamish about it. I know some people who are a lot more.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's still not... of all the places to be cut, it's not... Yeah.
I think from an evolutionary perspective, it probably makes a whole lot of sense that it's cringy to do that, because you've got two very vital like arteries in your neck.
Yeah, it's like watching any horror movie. If someone gets like, I don't know,
eviscerated,
something horrible happening to their hand taken off or something, then people naturally kind of just itch their hand out of just subconsciously like, yep, it's still there.
Yeah.
People do the same thing with the neck when that happens. They're like, just go scratch my beard for a second.
Brief science tangent. They've actually found in monkeys that by mapping their brain, that if a monkey watches another monkey eating, the same portions in both monkeys' brains activate. So like the monkey who is eating has the same parts of his brain activate as the monkey who is watching him eat. So I think it's a psychological thing. Like you see someone it's an empathy thing. You see somebody getting hurt on screen and you have that phantom feeling in yourself, like you're being hurt.
Yeah, I'm just trying to work out how I can watch someone eating a pizza now and then get the taste of the pizza.
I don't think that works, because taste buds are not based on nerve
Why
endings.
the fuck can't it?
Because science, Blue. Because science.
Ugh, fucking science. Bamboozled again.
But yeah, so that's the general plot of the movie. I ended up really liking the movie. It's essentially one man who becomes so, like, he has his happy life ripped away, and then he gets a glimmer of hope, and then he has that ripped away, and just becomes like an avatar of vengeance, just completely.
You know what it reminds me of?
What does it remind you of?
It reminds me of Joker.
Oh, the new Joker movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of.
That really depressing psychological horror.
The themes.
Which then evolves.
Yeah, the themes are different, and like some of the nuances. Like Joker has like a character who is psychologically unwell, whereas Sweeney Todd, like he's very much, he
I'd say
seems
he's
to be
psychologically unwell.
psychologically unwell in the fact that he's depressed and consumed by vengeance, yes, but he doesn't have any sort of psychological disorder, I would say.
Oh, no.
But you're right, in terms of the general themes, where it's somebody who's just been shit on so completely by the world around him that he is going on this vengeful spree. Yeah, I feel it's the same. Like, in that regard, I agree. When you get down to some of the nuances, when you get down to some of the nuances, I think that kind of falls apart.
Yeah, well, I don't know. The whole, I mean, obviously, the whole movie is depressing.
Yeah, which makes
it's
it
meant to
makes it my kind of movie.
kind of put you in the mind of the killer.
Yeah, yeah. And they do that with all the themes. Like, when they show the flashbacks, everything is colorful and vibrant, and people have,
Yeah, the beach fucking part was a wild turn.
The beach part seemed kind of weird. It always seems like a bit of a non sequitur, but I think the point of it was to show you how rose-tinted everything is in Mrs. Lovett's mind.
Yeah.
And
sure.
how because we talked about this
She
in
wants
the
a
ending of the
family.
movie, like what happens to her. You were talking about how it should have been obvious to her, and I was like, well, I think the beach scene kind of reinforces this. It's that in her mind everything was fine, and she was perfectly convinced that this was her way to this rosy, beautiful life, right? And of course that wasn't the case. That wasn't reality. But I think she was in her own delusion. But you're right, though, the way they do it in the movie, like, every time they go back to one of these fantasies or one of these remembrances of the previous, like, when everything was better and happier, it's very colorful and vibrant and happy music. But whenever they're in the modern reality, everyone is pale. It's always dark. It's always gray.
Yeah. Yeah, big, very famous cast.
Yeah, they did have quite the star-studded cast for it, and in fact, one of the
bad at memorizing celebrities, but there was like 6, 7, 8 people that I knew from that film, which is just madness.
Yeah, and for a musical especially, because at the time there weren't a lot of big-name musical movies.
Yeah.
There have been more since then. Les Miserables is one of probably the most recent one, and yes, I said that wrong on purpose.
Les Miserables. Yes.
Oh, oui, all bon pain. No, I do. That movie in particular, I also really like.
Yeah.
But yeah, this one, like, one of the things we said in college when we watched it was like, oh, it was amazing watching Snape and Captain Jack sing to each other.
Yeah. God, he makes such a good villain as I can't remember the guy's name.
Yeah, I don't remember his name either. You gandered at my ward. Yes, you gandered. That was the wrong voice.
Sean Connery.
I was doing Sean Connery, which, by the way, rest in peace, Sean Connery.
Poor Sean Connery. Yeah.
He died a week back and,
on Halloween. Yeah.
I love that guy and everything he was in.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, another actor, which I spotted, was not even a human. Was Sykes the dog.
And
it was really funny because it was a really depressing scene of like the lady looking out of the window, trapped in this horrible place, and then the dog walked past in the street, and I was like, Kaiser, pause the video! It's Sykes the dog!
And of course I had my headset off at this point so I could listen to the movie.
Yeah.
So, again, you showed me the commercial after the fact, but we don't have that commercial here, so I didn't recognize the dog.
No.
But yeah, apparently the dog was in both.
Yeah, that dog was in. You know the in Pirates of the Caribbean. I think it was the jail dog.
Oh, the jail dog. Yeah, I
keys.
know. Yeah,
Same dog as that.
Oh my God, you're right. That is the same
was in
dog.
He's in like 6 different famous films. Yeah, very, very, very cool.
Yeah, and just 2 of those films at least were Johnny Depp films. I'm trying to think if I've seen that dog in any other film.
And also, of course, yeah, a lot of Harry Potter characters, as we discovered: Bellatrix Lestrange, Wormtongue, and Snape, obviously.
Although one of the movies that I know that Mrs. Lovett from is Fight Club. She plays
Yeah, I've not
she
seen
plays the
Fight
woman
Club.
in that, the main female protagonist.
Right.
If you can really call anyone in that movie a protagonist.
Is she as kooky as she is in all her other movies?
She is, and
Uh-huh.
I won't lie, I find her kind of hot.
Yeah, fair enough.
But anyway, I don't want to spend the entire time talking about that movie because, I mean, I do. God, there's so much I want to talk about it just because I really.
Just buy one.
Okay. One of the things. This will be the last thing I bring up about the movie. One of the bits that I really, really like in it is what is it? Oh, shit, I lost it. Waffle for a second.
Okay, so I was just distracted by the recording time going past 13 minutes and 37 seconds. That just goes to show how childish I am. Leet. Yeah.
Okay.
God.
I've thought of it. So
Okay.
one thing I found watching the movie a second time, watching the movie and really paying attention to it, because I've had the movie on in the background doing other things, because it's one of my favorite movies to just have playing while I'm like cleaning or doing something in my house.
Sure. Real relaxing. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, I do find it relaxing. Is that really watching it compared to when I really watched it the first time back in college? I don't know. I think maybe I'm more empathetic now, but I actually was bothered more by the killings now than I was back then.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's that
We
I've
don't
just
really get to know any of the characters that are killed.
That's the thing. I feel exactly. And when I saw the movie as a I guess I would have been 20 at the time. Yeah, I think I would have been about 20 when I saw the movie the first time.
Yeah.
And at that time, I watched it, and I was like, I walked away from the movie cheery and happy, and I was like, that was a great movie. I really liked it. And yeah, fuck it. Everyone does deserve to die.
Jesus.
Yeah, again, saying that in jest. But now watching it as an older adult, I found myself empathizing even with the faceless, nameless people that were getting their throats slit in the movie.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that means I've developed or degraded emotionally.
Right.
So that long preamble there with my little self-indulgent, what am I? I'm curious what your reaction to it was, because you kind of, the faceless, nameless people. Did you feel any pity, empathy, thoughts about them? Because you're closer to the age I was when I first saw it.
Well, not gonna lie, when he first had the judge in the chair and he didn't cut the guy's throat immediately, I was so frustrated. Which is probably a bad thing to say.
Go for the
but
kill,
literally,
man.
If that had happened, then there would not have been any problems.
Yeah.
Well, maybe there would have been, but a lot less, I think. Maybe a lot less people would have died, because he wouldn't have then gone and murdered like half the population of London.
Yeah.
But I don't know. The people were just very generic people. It's like playing Red Dead Redemption. You don't see their faces. You're just like, well, that's another dead person. Man, I sound like a serial killer. Yeah, I don't know, because there was no actual introducing any of the characters that got killed, like the generic characters. It didn't really faze me all that much.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't like the grit and gore.
Mm-hmm.
That still put me on edge, but I had no emotional connection to the characters that got sliced.
Interesting.
I was really hoping that he wouldn't kill the boys. But beyond that,
yeah. And there was a couple little bits there where you still see bits of his humanity where he's like he'll murder, like in one scene he's murdering just a random young man. Doesn't seem to be like, because some of the people, it's like, okay, this older person, he's well dressed, like maybe he sees him as an avatar of the judge. But then there's other scenes where he's murdering just a perfectly, healthy young man, not well dressed. Like, could just be some random dude. Could just some random happy-go-lucky guy. But then, like, a scene later, he doesn't kill a almost identical young man just because he has his wife and child there. And part of me wonders, watching that now, did he not kill that second guy because the
that was, I think that was like a weird flashback memory of himself and his family, I'm pretty sure.
I think it wasn't. It was legitimately because those people weren't his family. Like, if you look at their hair color was different, their faces were different, it was entirely different people. And so I think they were legitimately there. And in my mind, I was thinking, did he not kill the guy because the wife and child were there because he saw himself in them? Like, he saw a flashback of his happier past and just
I think if that
had
were the
mercy.
case, it would be more likely that he just didn't want anyone to... I mean, otherwise he would have just killed the judge in front of the boy, wouldn't he?
Yeah, you jumped right out to the point I was about to make. No, that's good. That's exactly what I was leading to. Is, did he not do it because he had that flash of humanity, or did he do it or not do it because he just didn't want to get caught? So it kind of depends on whether you see the guy as a ruthless and brutal killer, or whether he still has bits and pieces of humanity. I don't know. There are little subtleties like that I just really like in the movie.
Yeah.
All right. That's all we're going to talk about for Sweeney Todd, because I want to talk about The Boys.
Go on then. I won't know anything about any of this, but go on.
Okay. So The Boys, I've talked about the first season before on the podcast, because it was like honestly, it's one of the most brilliant pieces of TV, like, screenwriting I have seen in the modern, like the past, few years. Because a lot of TV shows now tend to be kind of bland, or if they're not bland, they're just trying to be provocative.
Yeah.
I'm looking at you.
Parents were telling me
sorry,
to watch it.
Go on. What were you saying?
A few weeks back, I was sitting with Lucy's parents, and they were talking about it as well. So I really need to watch it.
You should. The first season especially, because the first season was just excellent. Yeah. It is gratuitously gory, but it's gratuitously gory for a reason. Like, it doesn't it doesn't do it like the Saw movies. I hated those movies. It doesn't do it just to be shocking.
Yeah.
Like, it does it because to really emphasize how easily, just a flick of the wrist from one of these superheroes is from blowing someone's head off, right?
Yeah.
And it does it very, very well. So season 1, I've talked about it on the podcast. I won't go into that again. Season 2 continues a lot of the story arcs from the first one, and it brings in a couple new characters. And they continue to do one of the things the series did best, which was just to take the piss out of modern corporate culture. So they're all superheroes, and in everyone's eyes, because of the media, they're all to these pristine, wonderful people.
But they're all private.
Yeah, privately they're all a bunch of fucking dicks.
Yeah.
To varying degrees. Some of them have trauma that they're going through. Some of them have psychological complexes. Some of them really are just sociopaths. And of course the Superman parody is probably the one that I like the most, because I've spoken quite a few times, because when we talked about Captain Marvel a few weeks back, I mentioned that I hated her for the same reason I hated Superman, because they're very bland, generic, and boring characters, because they're invincible. they somehow in this series managed to take an invincible character and make him really interesting to watch, because they dealt with him on a psychological level, right? Because on the face of it, he's out there. He could just go on a, he could wipe out the entire human race if he wanted to.
Yeah, he's chaotic neutral as
yeah, but
D&D terms.
But because he grew up that powerful and everyone was afraid of him, he grew up alone and completely isolated. And so he's desperate for love from anyone, essentially.
Yeah.
And so if he killed everyone, who would be left to love him? And the one thing that keeps him in check is the idea that if he does anything, that love and adulation and the one bit of humanity that he has would be gone. He'd have nothing left.
Yeah.
And it's one of the ways that they make this Superman clone kind of interesting as a character. Because in every scene he's in, you're never sure exactly what he's going to do. You said, chaotic neutral is a perfect way to describe him.
Okay.
But sorry, I'm getting off into the weeds onto the nuances of the show. The new character they added, and this is where they kind of go they go really well, and then they sort of go off into the weeds. The new character is this character called Stormfront. She's got the classic feminist haircut where half her head is shaved, and she got the comb over. She has lightning powers and is akin in strength to the Superman guy.
Basically Susan Storm. Yep.
Yeah. And so she goes around and she is starting to steal his thunder because she's crafted her media image
Unintended?
as... What? Oh, I didn't know. That was not intended. Shit, I didn't even realize that until you said that. But she's trying to craft this edgy...
Say it.
Sorry.
No, go on.
She's trying to craft this edgy image. So she comes in and they're filming a scene, and she's live streaming it on her phone and going, look at these corporate bitches and whatever, and essentially trying to play to that live media edge that people go for now on Snapchat and
trash talk.
Well, not trash talk, but it's the TikTok look of trying to be very rehearsed but look real and edgy, you know?
Woke?
No, not woke.
It feels kind of woke.
Well, a bit of that. They do take a piss. They do kind of poke at that and take a piss at it too, but that's not take the piss out of it, not take a piss at it. Holy shit. They don't really go in that direction too strongly. She is sort of that's the kind of person that they're taking the piss out of. They're going because she's like that on camera, but behind the scenes she's conniving, and she is she tries to make herself look authentic and edgy, but it's really just a way to get views and to get an audience.
Yeah, I'm standing by my opinion on this one.
Okay. But then this is where I think they go wrong with her character, and this is going into spoilers now. So this is probably going to carry us to the end of the segment. So if you don't want to hear spoilers about season 2 of The Boys, probably stop here. But
all right, well, I'll see you in a minute.
Fuck off. Or skip ahead 2 or 3 minutes. Basically, it turns out that behind the scenes, she's just a massive racist. She's
Fuck, that was out of left field.
So she's secretly over 100 years old, and she's been other superheroes in the past, but they've sort of rebranded her and moved her around in the same way as other religious scandals in the past.
Right.
And she's maintained those sorts of opinions and beliefs, and I think that would have been enough of a parody. to make her, like, on the surface, she's trying to be edgy and woke and, like, authentic and on social media and everything. But behind the scenes, she's actually, like, racist and conniving and planning and that sort of thing.
Oh, man, just like you...
Fuck off. But then they took a step too far, and then they were like revealing, oh, she's 100 years old, and oh, she was best buddies with Hitler, and oh, she was married to Goebbels or some shit like that.
Oh.
It's like, okay.
Did we once play My Waifu is the Führer or something?
It is a game, and that was a Kickstarter actually. It was
Okay,
it was a visual novel, and it was another parody that came true.
Okay.
There was a joke that was made back when we were in college that if anyone was going to make, because like enough distance time wise makes anything open for mockery.
Oh,
So
yeah.
like you can go back and the 100 Years War or something like that. You could probably make like a visual novel about it or something like that. No one would give a fuck. You could make a parody of it.
Yeah.
The same thing with like Genghis Khan or whatever. Genghis Khan reduced...
Just look at Inglourious Bastards.
Yeah. Inglourious Bastards is a good example of that. So the idea that eventually somebody was going to make a parody of the World War II baddies to keep YouTube happy, that was going to happen.
I'm pretty sure we already said that.
Oh, did we already say?
word.
Yeah, okay, fuck it.
Yeah.
But that was going to happen, and the joke was that if anyone was going to do it, it was going to be the Japanese, and they were going to be making like an anime parody of it. And sure enough, somebody made an anime parody of World War II called My Waifu is the Führer.
Yep. And then there's the Girls und Panzer,
Yeah.
whatever it is. The waifu is a tank. The literal inanimate objects. I don't know why people eat that shit up so much.
Also, that pisses me off. Why didn't they just call it like ein Frauen und Panzer? Like, why did they do one word in English and the other two in German?
Yeah, because people don't know what Frauen means generally. Also, I feel like they're closer to Mädchen than Frauen, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Mädchen probably makes a whole lot more sense.
Maybe.
Anyway,
no one's gonna understand what we just said. So cool.
Sorry, we're kind of waffling at the end of the segment. So to keep it tight and kind of wrap things up, that was my thoughts on season 2. Like, I really liked it, but I feel like they went a little bit too heavy-handed with the parody in a couple bits. I used that one as an example, but that wasn't the only example. They sort of they opened weak. The middle was strong, and the ending was weak again. That was my impression of season 2. Whereas season 1 was strong the whole way through. It was just awesome.
Okay. Honestly, it sounds just like a better version of Marvel right now, because I'm kind of sick of the whole, I like a bit of psychological drama and bad guys and stuff like that, being inside the mind of the bad guy. So I feel like that's a good alternative to just watching Marvel over and over again, which is basically the same storyline repeated.
So what you just said reminded me of one thing that I definitely wanted to talk about.
Okay.
So, yes, you're right.
Is it a long subject?
No, it's very short. It's on the same topic. Okay. So,
Kaiser size.
Fuck off. And yes, I am short. When we're talking about that sort of like having the nuance of the characters, like having that gray area for characters, something that definitely Marvel does not do. They're very much quote ironically comic book in their approach. In this series, even the guy that I'm talking about, the Superman parody, he is, even at his most sociopathic in this season, you can still find empathy. There's a scene where he has just completely slaughtered people, like just wantonly killed people for basically no reason, and he's covered in blood, and something happens that like, you can see emotionally hurts him, and he's almost in tears, and you actually can feel. Maybe this is just me, but I felt like empathetic towards the guy, even though like he's done such horrible shit throughout the course of the movie, and I know that in this series he's going to continue to do horrible shit. Seeing him in that moment, I was like, oh shit, I actually feel bad for him, and I want something good to happen to this guy, because like a lot of it's self-inflicted, but nothing but bad shit seems to happen to him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. In those kind of scenarios, I don't have much sympathy, I suppose. There was a book that I read many years ago, and it was this book about basically human children that have been genetically mutated to have like angel wings and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And they'd like broken out of the laboratory and they were on the run. And there was this dumb like love triangle thing where this asshole of a guy liked a girl, and he was a total dick to her. And eventually she was like, I don't want to see you anymore. I want to see this other guy who's really nice, who's actually genetically made to be a good match for me. And I was like, hell yeah, I like the genetically matched guy. He's just generally a nice guy.
Yeah.
So the asshole guy gets really stroppy and like starts smashing up a city. And then she ends up going back out with him, and that made me so angry. Like, you've got like a really nice guy, and then you've got this asshole who then just like broke a bunch of shit, and I don't know.
There's a
You've no pity for that.
You've just
shit.
given me an idea for what we can talk about in segment 3.
Yeah.
What you've just described is something that is popularly known as an idiot plot, and it's a plot that can only happen because everyone in it is an idiot.
Right.
Or makes stupid decisions, essentially.
The nice guy is an idiot. He made a freaking treehouse for this girl and set up like a really fancy dinner, and then she fucks off like a bitch. Sorry. It's been so many years, but I'm still so salty about it. It was at the end of a book series of like 8 books or something, and oh god, it was such a bad ending. I hate when books have bad endings.
Especially when it's the end of like a long series or something. Like, movies
Yeah.
and TV shows are the same way. If they end in a really shitty way, you're like, oh fuck, that's really how it ends?
Yeah, like,
Alright. Oh my god. Okay. No. I know what we're going to talk about in segment 3. We're ending this here. We will continue this rant in segment 3.
Sounds
so,
good.
people who are
See you in
listening and
segment
actually
3.
want to hear us go on about this, we're going to continue this. Because segment 3, I've decided right now we are going to talk about endings.
Oh my.
We're going to talk about endings in general. And it can... I'll leave that somewhat open. We're going to discuss it in the little segue between segments, but if you're interested in that, keep listening, because that's what's going to be segment 3. Any final thoughts before I close this out, Blue?
Nope.
Okay. This has been segment 2 of the TMCJ podcast. Stay tuned, and hopefully you'll listen to us on segment 3. And welcome back to the TMCJ podcast. We are on segment number 3, which this week, despite the fact that we had a wildly successful and great fun quiz show for the last segment 3, this one is more of the mundane sort. As I started to say in segment 2, what I wanted to talk about in segment 3 was the concept of endings in general.
Yep. Wow, what irony it'll be if we really fuck up the ending to this podcast.
That just was occurring to me. Like, this is the last segment we're talking about endings. But no, because you were talking about a book series that you'd been reading, and then the ending just blew.
Yeah, so I was talking about the relationship between 3 of the characters. There was a whole bunch of more characters, but because the ending was just so bad, there's very particular parts that I can remember, and it's only the bad parts because they left such an impression. So it was obviously that part, and I think the guy, most of the other characters lived. No, they didn't actually live happily. None of them lived happily ever after, because at the end of it all, right, they just kind of. I can't remember the plot exactly anymore, but basically there was just suddenly some unexplainable apocalyptic event, right? There was no real warning of this in the book leading up. It sounded like the author either got sick and tired of the book series, or they got told they need to wrap it all up, tie up all the loose ends. And one of the main villains, much like in the Darren Shan book that I've said on previous podcasts,
Yeah.
the main villain turns out to have been working with the good guys all along. And then that person and all the good guys fly off to this place. I don't even know where that particular place is, and just watch the world burn, and they just live in that place from then on. That's how it ends. The world burns, and they survive in a place. And Jerkoff and the girl are together, and the really nice guy is sad and alone and kind of depressed. Which, considering it was a really good book series up till that point, was a really bad ending.
Yeah.
Caramba.
It's one of those things like it's the kind of ending that you don't want to have, where it leaves your audience going, well, what now? It's like, yeah, the series, even if they liked that ending, what now? What are the characters going to do? Like, there needs to be, there's a reason that the riding off into the sunset ending is such a cliche, and it's because it's a very satisfying closure. The audience can imagine whatever they want. They're riding off into the sunset. Maybe they become a family man and settle down. Maybe they go off to more adventure. Maybe they move to the city and become a banker. You don't know, but in theory, any of those things could happen. In your scenario, well, the world blew up. We've got 3 people left. What now?
It was... in fact, not even that. It was... Because it was an apocalyptic event, they all went into a cave and just lived in a cave. Like, they weren't even in the open air. They were in a cave in the ground.
They've literally...
And they have wings, so, like, how depressing is, like, being a bird stuck under the ground. Ugh.
It's like if you ended a storybook with, instead of, and they all lived happily ever after, and everything was shit. The end.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, you can have great endings where everyone dies. Like, what was it? The Hateful Eight?
Hateful Eight, yep.
With Morgan?
Morgan Freeman, yep, he was in it.
Yep. He was like...
Sam Jackson was in it
everyone
too, I
dies. Oh no, it was Samuel Jackson.
It was Sam Jackson. It wasn't
God,
Morgan Freeman. It was Sam Jackson.
The
the other really awesome black guy.
Yeah, I mean, they are both amazing actors. But yeah, everyone dies at the end, even the good guys, even the bad guys. But that is a great end. Also, sorry, massive spoilers.
Well, we're talking about endings. It should go without saying that everything we're going to be talking about here is going to be spoilers. So if you want anything unspoiled, don't even listen to the segment. Fuck off right now.
Oh my god, no. No, we need your views. So, yes, that's the good way of doing the ending, because it was really dramatic. I mean, maybe they dragged out the death scene a bit long, possibly.
But that's...
But you felt it.
Exactly. You can end... It's sort of the way... What am I trying to say? With the last segment where I was talking about Homelander, which is the Superman parody in... what the fuck is that series called? The Boys. I could not think of the name of the series that I was just talking about. So Homelander is a perfect example of how to do Superman right, because he's an interesting character. He's a horrible person and a very, very negative... Like, he's very much an antagonist. But I feel like he does Superman better than Superman, because Superman is poorly written. Superman is good and virtuous and a great guy, and he is just utterly uninteresting as a character.
He's very retro in his design, I think.
I would argue that even at the time he was kind of shitty,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It appealed more to that
vanilla
in American history.
Yeah, vanilla milquetoast Americana. But
well,
my point was that just like with characters, with endings, you can do any kind of ending. Like, you can have a terrible, negative, depressing ending, and you can do it well. And the ending you just described is you have a terrible, awful, depressing ending done badly.
Yeah.
I
mean, hell, Sweeney Todd was one of the most depressing endings ever, but it was bloody good.
Exactly! Oh my god, calling it back to the earlier segment. Yeah, Sweeney Todd, it ends with almost everyone of note dying in a horrible way, and the few people who do survive, they're looking at a bleak future. But
yeah, scarred.
It's well done.
Yeah.
Like, I'm thinking back to the ending of that movie, and so there's a little kid, like, he's been beaten and boozed up his whole life, and then he saw his mother figure betray him and then get burned alive, and then he slit the throat of his new father figure, and now he's going to go off into the world. Yeah, he survived, but what's going to happen now?
Yeah, he might become more of a demon than the barber.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's the two kids that got away, the sailor and the girl.
I mean, don't think they're that scarred, to be honest.
Well, okay.
I mean,
assuming they
Sorry.
Assuming they got out, she's traumatized because she's been living with the rapey judge her entire life.
Yeah, and she was in an asylum with like a bunch of...
Yeah. And she saw that same judge get stabbed in the jugular.
I mean, I feel like it'd make her more sane, not less.
You'd be surprised.
Maybe.
I mean,
I don't know.
Even if I feel, but again, this is my bias. But I feel like even if you've been raised your entire life by someone horrible, you're going to feel some attachment to them.
Yeah. Oh man, the twist with that. No, this is not about Sweeney Todd. Sorry, go on.
No, but we're talking about endings. So I think my point being is that ending is very well done, because the audience at the end, they have satisfying closure to the plot, and they can, in their heads, imagine different scenarios that are going to happen for the characters that are moving on past there.
Yeah. The twist with the tramp lady, I did not see that coming literally until he was like holding her in his arms. And I was like, oh,
neither did
shit.
I. Okay.
That was so good.
Alright, I've been called a fucking idiot for not seeing that coming. I'm glad that there's at least one other idiot.
Yeah. Well, thanks, mate. I'm sorry. I spotted a dog actor, alright? And yet I didn't see, like, the plot point. No, I think they played that very well. I mean, I was always confused about her from the start. I was like, how does she have these magical powers? She knew to talk to the boy when he was looking at the girl's window, and now I know, oh, that's because that was the girl's mother.
Exactly, keeping an eye on her. And I didn't realize any of that either the first watch through. Like, I thought she was just some rando. And I realized it at the exact same point you did, which was the exact same point that Sweeney Todd did.
I was like, why is Bellatrix moving the body? I was like, that's weird.
And then she knew about it, and
suspicious.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that was a good.
It was
twist.
Yeah, it was very well done too. So I'm right on board with you on that one. Like, but again, coming back to the topic of endings.
Yeah, endings.
That is an example of how to do a tragic ending well.
Yes.
Because you can do a tragic ending pretty easily. Just like, oh, and then you opened a box and everyone died.
Yeah.
It's tragic, but it's shit.
Yeah. I mean, there's that classic metaphor of, like, when people are in such a bad place that they end up destroying themselves. They
Yeah.
literally show that metaphor of him destroying his family, literally.
Yeah.
Almost killing his daughter as well.
Mm.
And I think they did a really good way of... It was not on the nose at all. He didn't even recognise her, she didn't recognise him. And it was this close to happening. And it was only circumstance that stopped it. Go on.
And I think that's something... That's another good point, is you can have, like, in the same way that you can have a tragic or happy ending and have it be done well and have it be done poorly, I think you can have an allegorical ending where you're talking about a metaphor and you're trying to give some kind of a message. And there's a way to do that well, and there's a way to do that poorly. Sweeney Todd, I think, is a very good way to do that well, because they are trying to teach a lesson about how vengeance just destroys everything. There's a metaphor about him destroying his family, like you said, but it's not ham-fisted.
No.
It's in there, and if you're looking for it, you can find it, but even if you're not, it's a good story.
Yeah, I mean, it's still a tragedy. It's a horror film by some degree. Yeah, at the beginning. So it's a really intense intro music while it's doing, like, the blood pouring through the gears and stuff. And then it has this jaunty little chip tune of them arriving in London on the boat. It's really happy, and it, like, completely turned me. It was like, what?
Yes, there's no place like London.
Yeah, that was a good, like, the
word
pit, and everyone's filled with shit. And I'm butchering it because I don't know the lyrics.
I know, but it's
really
a good. I know what you're saying. It's a good juxtaposition because you have the hopeful and cheery young boy, talking about how he's so excited to be there, and then you've got Sweeney Todd, who is jaded and older and has been screwed over.
More cultured from watching it.
Yeah.
I think we can jointly agree that we could definitely recommend people give it a watch.
Yeah, if you haven't seen, and if our descriptions earlier weren't enough, and we haven't thoroughly spoiled the movie for you, even if we have, I would highly recommend Sweeney Todd. The movie, like, the musical, I've seen it performed before, and I did like the performance, but I feel like the movie is just expertly done, and it's definitely worth a watch.
Like, a performance changes with every rendition, but we can guarantee you that the movie is good.
Yeah. So, but talking about endings, and thinking of, like, ones that are done poorly, because we've kind of rhapsodized quite a bit about this one, and it's done well, but I feel like there are other ones out there that we can easily pull out and say are done poorly. Because we talked about a poor one to begin with, the book series.
Yeah.
We moved on to Sweeney Todd, which was done well. What's a happy ending you've seen done poorly?
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, if you're looking for a negative one in gaming, we could always talk about Mass Effect again, but I feel like that's been done to death.
It really has been done to death. But Mass Effect is a happy and sad and neutral ending, because they give you all three choices.
Yeah, which is depressing in itself.
But it's done poorly. But that's because there's no real agency. Mass Effect is an example of when you get to the end of a movie, if a pop-up appears on the screen and you say, press 1 for happy end, press 2 for neutral end, press 3 for sad end. Yeah. And that's it. Like, so that's all I'll say about Mass Effect's ending. And to be fair, Mass Effect 1 and 2 had excellent endings. Mass Effect 3 had a shit ending. But no, I want you to, like, give me an example of a movie that ended happily that was bad. A movie, TV series, book, just a happy ending that you thought was shit.
Oh, happy endings. Oof.
Because I've got one. I want to hear yours first.
Well, do yours first, so I can think about mine.
Okay. The ending I'm thinking of was a oh god, shit. got me talking about Mass Effect tonight, and now it's gone.
Oh no.
Fuck Waffle for a second.
Fudge. Okay, I was thinking about. Have you seen Resident Evil BioShock? I know you won't have played it because you don't like horror games, but
I haven't seen the movie. No.
Oh no, it's a game, but
Oh, I've done neither.
it was a really good horror game, I thought, which is rare because I normally dislike horror games in general. But it was one of those games where you go through it all being like,
I remembered.
everything is evil and cursed and nothing makes sense and everything is just trying to kill you. And then by the end, you're actually like, okay, I can actually kind of make some sense of the scenario right now. And by the end, you kind of feel like all the things that have happened to you have happened for a reason that you can understand because you know more as a character.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a really good ending. I can't actually remember the exact ending. I can remember the part leading up to the end. But I remember it being quite satisfying. I mean, the whole game is pretty damn good, considering I haven't even played it. I've watched like 2 or 3 people play it through because it was that good. Yeah, go on. What were you gonna say?
So I was thinking about a movie that, and that's an interesting point that may be something we want to talk about in a subsequent podcast. Is the idea of watching a game, because with the prevalence of Let's Plays, watching a game is almost as common as playing them.
A lot of people can't understand people watching games.
Yeah,
but it's just like watching a movie.
Exactly. You're watching a narrative, and a good Let's Play is like a good movie.
Yeah.
Anyway,
like The Walking Dead. Oh.
Yeah. So, the movie I was thinking of was Law Abiding Citizen. Have you ever seen it?
Never heard of it.
Oh, damn. Well, I may bring it up on movie night sometime anyway, just so you can see it. Because the movie is excellent. Excellent until the very end where they pull a fucking Deus Ex Machina. So the movie is about this man who, just normal guy, and his, hanging out with his wife and kid, burglars break into the house, and they murder his family in a gruesome and fucked up fashion that I will not say on the podcast. He survives and devotes his entire life essentially to revenge, although they don't say that in the series at first. It kind of flashes forward, and it's following the DA and the lawyer and everything. And basically one of the guys who the guy who really committed the most heinous of the crimes, he gets off because he has a better lawyer. And the other guy, the one that was basically just the watcher guy, the guy who's just watching the door, that guy gets the death penalty.
Jesus.
But the man who survives, and the lawyer who kind of brokered all this and made sure that things kind of swept through, he's played by Jamie Foxx, I think. Another very good actor, but I can't remember all that many things I've seen him in besides this movie. I know his name specifically because of this movie. That's how good it was. Anyway, so the guy who is the dad is played by Leonidas from 300.
Mm-hmm.
He I can't remember the actor's name. He essentially goes through this whole 15 years of or several years. I don't know if it's 15. I said 15 off the top of my head, but I don't think it's that long.
Okay.
Of just legal proceedings where he realizes the guy that did this horrible things to his family, he's going to get away. And the other guy is the one that's going to get all the punishment.
Right.
And so it cuts forward to the lawyer and people watching the execution of the other guy, the guy that didn't do too much bad shit. And something goes wrong and he ends up dying in a gruesome and painful way, which is the first sign that something's wrong. Anyway, point being, it's this long spree of vengeance by this meticulously intelligent man who has taken his time and done everything he possibly could to make sure that, like, the vengeance is carried out in a very exact fashion, and it is completely untraceable, right?
Right.
But at the very end of the movie, they decide to go like, oh, by the way, this guy who did everything in this very clever, meticulous fashion, he's actually an idiot. Oh, and by the way, he blows himself up.
Oh.
Like, it's... The main, I guess, protagonist, I don't really consider him a protagonist because he was the guy that caused everything in the first place. But the lawyer guy, he gets an email from a character that never appears on screen. We never hear their name. We never see them or hear from them at all in the movie. They're name dropped like as just a side character in one random scene. And they send him an email that contains everything you need to know to win.txt. And he suddenly just has all the information he needs. And at the same time, the main quote-unquote antagonist, I again think he was the protagonist of the movie, the guy who's doing all of this stuff, he suddenly decides to do something insanely idiotic when every other move he's made has been brilliant and calculated and intelligent.
Yeah.
And he just randomly decides to do something stupid, and that's how the movie ends. Like, they tie everything up like, oh, make it seem like this lawyer made this brilliant deductive thing and he suddenly figured it out and was able to catch this guy. But in fact, what happened was the writers were like, oh shit, we need a reason for this guy to be intelligent suddenly. And so they dumbed down at the very end of the movie. So I really like plot lines that are like battle of wits, right?
Yeah.
Where you have like two equally intelligent people kind of duking it out. At the it was that for most of the movie. But at the very end, they're like, oh fuck, we need to find an ending. And so they made the lawyer guy super smart out of nowhere. And they made the normal guy who got his family killed really stupid out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the movie ends, the whole reason the ending happens is because the lawyer has a brilliant stroke of luck, and the normal guy has a timely stroke of stupidity.
Yeah, that does remind me of a book by John Grisham.
Mm-hmm. By the way,
which...
the fact that you mentioned him, my mother's gonna love that. She fucking loves John Grisham.
Yeah, this was one of the first John Grisham books I read. I don't think it was one of the ones that got turned into a movie. I could be wrong. And also this is a very long time ago, so any facts are spurious at best.
Gotcha.
So it starts off with this guy in somewhere in America, and he's like an old man, and basically gets up one day, loads his shotgun into his pickup truck, goes into town, and kills the priest.
Alright, as I can say, this is a common thing for many Americans to do, minus killing the priest.
Jesus. Okay.
I don't know if I've ever told this. I've told you this story. I've never told it on the podcast. My great-grandfather got into a gunfight with the town doctor.
Yeah. But, so, when he got back, so he finished with the priest, he went home, and then everyone found out pretty quickly. They knew it was him, because, I don't know, he was not making it difficult to work out, right? Apparently the priest had an affair with his wife while he was at war or something, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that was it. I could be, again, I don't know. And so there's a big trial, and the trial is whether he should be executed, basically, for killing the priest.
Right.
And then the book takes a wild turn. It goes into how the war was for him, and he was like this amazing soldier who he got captured by the Vietnamese, I want to say.
Yep.
And he was led on this horrible. I think this is.
If it was a modern day book, then it probably would have been the Vietnamese. That's the most recent traumatic war that we've had.
Yeah, and him and a bunch of other soldiers were made to do the walk. I can't remember the exact name of the walk. But basically, if they had these barely any food, barely any water, they're forced to march for a vast distance. If you fell behind or fell over, they'd just shoot you. And they were basically marching into concentration camps. And if the video wasn't demonetized by now, it certainly is now.
Not like we make anything out of this.
Well, this is true. Where people were being equally terribly treated in the concentration camps, obviously. And yeah, it goes through this very long... so many chapters of this war, and it sets him up as this really amazing guy. Then it flicks back to modern day, and it's like, right, you are going to be executed. The only way you can stop yourself from being executed is if you plead insanity, basically. And he was like, no, I refuse to plead insanity. And his family like begging him to do so, and he's like, no, I won't do it. I won't do it. And up till the end, you're like, come on, something's got to happen. Like, he can't die. Yeah. 2/3 of the way through the book, and he gets executed.
Oh, shit. And then the book keeps going.
Yeah, the book keeps going, and I can't even remember anything past that, because it was like such a shock. I was like, oh my god, what? No, you can't what? You can't kill him. What? Yeah, and then like the priest's wife like claims their land and their house and stuff like that, and it's really, really unfortunate. I mean, the book is amazing, but it's so so bittersweet.
I think that's another. I don't know. Having not read it, just hearing your plot synopsis.
Yeah.
My first impression is I feel like that's a book that ended too late, right? It should have ended...
Well, no, because it's like a whole new story after he dies.
That's what I mean, is like the first... Like, maybe split it out into a different book or leave it up to the audience's interpretation, but I feel like that story had an ending, and then the writer was just like, well, I'm just going to keep going.
To be fair, John Grisham does... His books do go on a bit.
They are quite large. I actually have a John Grisham book on my shelf that my mother gave me that I do need to read. But I just have way too many books that I am in the middle of right now.
Like 4 right now.
But that's another. I just leaned back in my chair, which caused it to creak a lot. That is going to come through the mic. But I think that's another thing that is very... it has an influence on endings, right? So we've talked about good endings and bad endings, both happy and sad. I think that's another example.
Extended endings,
exactly. If the ending goes on too long, or if it stops too early.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it continued with his, like, I think his son as the main focal point.
Yeah, and what's God, there was a movie that I saw that just... No, it was a TV show.
Right.
So I haven't seen this TV show. I've only heard about it, like, third hand from other people. I think it's called Supernatural, maybe?
Okay.
But essentially, like, the idea was it was these characters and they're interacting with and potentially fighting with all of these supernatural beings, ghosts, demons, vampires, and of course things have to escalate, right? So in the later seasons, they're fighting with, Lucifer
Satan.
And angels.
Oh my god,
and devil.
Really?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my god, that's being
and
sarcastic.
by the time it gets to the point where they're fighting with and interacting with God, they've kind of run out of ideas, and they should have stopped a season ago. But from what I've heard, they just kept going, and now they're dealing with, like, fighting, quote unquote, the concept of death,
Right.
And it's just like, okay, yeah, I think this
that's
happens.
That's when a D&D session has gone too long.
I think this tends to happen with TV shows, in particular, when they're successful, because they eventually like run out of ideas.
They want to keep making the money, but they can't really expand on it.
They have to find a way to escalate things.
Yeah.
To keep people interested. I mean, Dragon Ball Z is famous for this. Like, they needed to find a way to make their characters seem more and more powerful, and so
now
it's like, I can destroy
over 10,000 as opposed to 9,000. Sorry, that's bad.
My power level is 9,001.
Exactly.
So they there's that, right? But you know what? I feel like Star Wars kind of went through this too, right? Because they had the Death Star.
Yeah.
And then that was the big thing in the original trilogy.
That should have ended there, really, shouldn't it?
And that was in the original trilogy. And in the sequels, they had this thing that was carved out of a planet that was kind of like a Death Star, but it could shoot like 8 planets. It's like Death Star can kill 1 planet. This one can kill like 7. It did. Oh. Yeah, the first one, The Force Awakens.
I must have blocked that out when I was watching.
The Force Awakens is one of the only good movies from the sequel trilogy. Right. In fact, I would argue it's the only good movie from the sequel trilogy.
Yeah, I mean, the only weapon I've seen in any kind of fiction that's bigger than that is like the time paradox bomb from Doctor Who. And God knows how they expended after that. Well, they didn't. They got shit and woke. But
Doctor Who they decided like we don't want to be sci-fi anymore. We want to just where does the Doctor go after saving the entire universe and billions of different species? Oh, she goes back to Earth and lectures a school teacher.
Yeah,
it's
much.
Like oh yay, like I'm sorry. I get it. They were trying to do a political message there, but you've got this galaxy, universe-altering person, somebody with the power of time and space. Why the fuck?
Very biased towards humans.
Why the fuck are they wasting their time? So they do in the Tenet segment of Doctor Who.
Yeah.
They do. Doctor Who's an interesting one for endings too, because they have to end her every few seasons.
Yeah.
So, but in the Tennant era, like the Doctor, they kind of allude that humanity is like the Doctor's pets, essentially. Like
kind of. Also girlfriends, and
it's. I mean, I know, but it's like he has all of these other concerns and out there. It's like a human being, right? They might go out and they're flying around the world and they're doing business, they're talking to people, they're singing songs, maybe they're a rock star, and they have a goldfish.
Right.
Humanity is the Doctor's goldfish, is kind of how they sort of imply the situation is in the Tennant era, right? And I feel like that was a good explanation as to why he pays so much attention to them, but in those seasons he doesn't pay too much attention to them, if you know what I mean.
I don't know. They kind of yeah.
In the recent ones, I agree. Like he seems to be obsessive, and I'm saying he because fuck it.
They, whatever.
Yeah. I refuse to use they as a singular. That is the most retarded thing in the fucking world.
Okay, well, anyway, the...
no, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm being a grammar Nazi.
Oh.
I'm using the word Nazi again.
Anyway, the specific episode I was talking about was one of the David Tennant episodes where the Daleks... get 9 planets and they line them all up, and then they do some. They're going to use some.
Yeah, you're talking. It's
the
end. You're actually talking about the end of the Tennant era, because they bring back together several of the companions from previous seasons, And
No, it's not the end of Tennant, actually. No, it's not the end of Tennant. Because Tennant dies to the Time Lords with the Master episode.
oh,
with
okay, yeah, but that's a movie. I'm
Tate.
talking about the end of him season-wise. Like, the
It's a
episode
movie.
you're talking about, the one with the Master, that's
Yeah.
a movie. That's a special.
No, it's not.
It is. It's like a 2-hour-long things.
No, it's normal episodes.
Maybe they were in the UK, but they weren't over here.
I know it was 2 parts. It was a 2-episode one, but the one that I was just referring to with the Daleks, they end up in Bad Wolf Bay.
Yep.
His hand, which turned into David Tennant Mark II, which is human, stays with Rose.
Yep.
Rose fucks off, and then he meets Martha, and then he meets Catherine Tate after that, and then he dies.
Oh, okay, yeah, no, you're entirely right. I'm full of shit. You're right. That was. I was thinking. Okay, so Catherine Tate. There's another apocalyptic episode, very similar to that one in terms of plot.
Right.
Where they.
Oh, was that the one with the? Sorry, go on.
So where they have the, old redheaded chick. Is Catherine Tate? Is that her name?
Yeah.
I hated her at first, but she actually ended up being one of my favorite companions.
She was.
Like, she started off shit and ended up being awesome.
Anyone's better than Amy Pond.
Who's Amy? Oh, Amy. Yeah, you talking about the Scottish girl?
Yes.
Yeah. She was a bit annoying.
Yeah.
I like
Martha wasn't great,
she
but-
actually, in my mind, had the opposite character arc of Catherine Tate, because she, like Amy Pons, I liked right off the bat. Like I thought she was a good character at the beginning,
Right.
and then grew into a shitty character. Whereas
I see.
the other one, Catherine Tate, am I saying her name right? I'm not
Yeah,
remembering.
you're
You
fine,
just
you're
said it. She started off as a shitty character and grew into a good character.
Yeah. Donna. That was her name.
Donna, yeah, in the series, that was what they called her.
Yeah. Donna Noble. Man, I don't know why. I haven't seen Doctor in years.
As particularly these episodes.
But we are rambling on a bit. It's 38 minutes.
Oh God, Jesus, have we been going on this long? All right, so as well, we didn't have a real particular theme for this one, and this whole ending concept was something I literally came up in segment 2. So, yeah, it wasn't nearly as structured as normal. But hopefully you've enjoyed listening, and hopefully you'll listen to us again soon. But this is the end of the TMCJ podcast, so thank you for listening for now.
See you next week.